Hello boys, welcome back to another session of video tutorials, and this session is meant for class 12th biology students, and this is for 2nd John 2021. And before I start off, I would like to wish very fruitful, successful, purposeful New Year 2021 to all of you, including your members of the family. So with that, we move ahead. As you all know, I was giving training in assertion and reasoning type of questions, and for all the chapters we have finished, and now we are going to go for important questions of the chapter in the form of a test paper. So we are dealing today with the chapter number 15, Biodiversity and Conservation. So in that, we have some questions which are important as far as your board exam is concerned. Let's go ahead. 1. Buffer zone in biosphere reserve is zone 4. So forestry, agriculture, tourism and restoration, and research and education. So answer should be D, and this should be N zone. Okay. Then second, indeterminate species are those species which are in danger but A, are less in number, are not reproducing in current habitat. B, C, reason for extinction is known. D, reason for extinction is not known. So this is the indeterminate species. Reason of extinction is not known. Third, the extent to which numbers of different species are equal or skewed will refer to the species evenness and relative abundance. Of course, A should be the answer. Only relative abundance, species richness and species evenness, and species evenness only. Now question number 4, match the following. This normally will have a lot of permutations and combinations, so one must be careful in answering match the following. He has given the names under column A, that is ecologist name and contribution. Edward Wilson, estimated global species diversity. Paul Ehrlich, term biodiversity. Humboldt, rivet puppet hypothesis. Robert May, relation between the species richness and explored area. And of course, we know that this one hint you must get, then you will catch that. And the hint that one can give is, for example, Edward Wilson is the person who gave the term biodiversity. So just to see A2, oh, we have got A and B, A2, even D is there. Then you go for C, because C also is famous, that is Humboldt, is it? Humboldt, fourth one, relation between species richness and explored area. So we can, based on that, we can say this A should be the answer. That is Edward Wilson, term biodiversity. B, Paul Ehrlich, rivet puppet hypothesis. And C, A.V. Humboldt, relation between species richness and explored area. And D, Robert May, is estimated global species diversity. So A should be the answer. Then question 5th, diversity can be promoted by the fugitive species, pioneer species, recessive species and dominant species. Of course, we know that it is dominant species. And then we have got now descriptive type questions. Name two most diversity rich zones of India. What you need to do is just try to write without seeing the answers which I am going to give you at the end. And in case you are finding it difficult, you can go to the answers. Question 7. About 200 species of the cichlid fish became extinct when a particular fish was introduced in Lake Victoria of Africa. Name the invasive fish. 8. Animals are not essential in an ecosystem. Justify. And of course, we have been doing this. What is red list? Give two uses of red list. Question number 10. Name the three important components of biodiversity. 11. Define biodiversity. Name the two most biodiversity rich zones of India. Question 12. What does the term genetic diversity refer to? What is the significance of large genetic diversity in a population? Question 13. Why are alien species invasion and loss of habitat and fragmentation considered to be major cause of loss of biodiversity? Explain with the help of one example each. Question 14. You find that a lake in your neighboring area has been covered by water hyacinth. You have contacted your friends to remove this weed. Nobody agrees to support you. How will you explain the necessity of this? So such questions are very important as far as environmental concern is concerned. And question number 15, what is the significance of slope of regression in species area relationship? So now let's see the answers. One, we said answer D, research and education. Buffer zone is managed to accommodate variety of resources for restoration of degraded ecosystems and habitats. Conservation of genetic resources, species and ecosystem, and monitoring of development and conservation program. It is mainly for research and education. And then question 2, we said answer D, a reason of extinction is not known. Indeterminate species that are susceptible to being in danger, but reason of extinction is not known, and we do not have enough information to place them in another category. For example, short-eared rabbit of Sumatra and Mexican prairie dog. And question 3, A, species evenness and relative abundance. Explanation, the extent to which numbers of different species are equal or skewed will refer to species evenness or relative abundance. Species evenness or relative abundance depends upon availability of natural resources essential for organisms. Question number 4. Of course, we have given that back the following. Edward Wilson coined the term biodiversity. Paul Ehrlich proposed a Rivet-Popper hypothesis. A.V. Humboldt shows relation between species richness and explored area. Robert May estimated global species diversity. And then question number 5, we said the dominant species, answer D. The species that predominates in an ecological community, particularly when they are most numerous or form the bulk of the biomass. Diversity can be promoted by dominant species. Dominant species of an ecosystem determine the way of diversity, which may be linear or diverse. Question number 6, the two biodiversity hotspots in rich zones, Western Ghats, of course, we talked, Eastern Himalayas. And then question 7, Nail patch, introduction of this large predator fish in the lake caused the extinction of native fish. So you need to remember this. And because producer-decomposer food chains can keep an ecosystem self-sufficient and viable. And question number 9, IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, maintains a red data book or red list, which is a catalogue of taxa facing risk of extinction. It aims to convey the urgency of conserving threatened species to the public and policy makers so as to reduce species extinction. Uses identification and documentation of endangered species of plants and animals, creating awareness about importance of preserving the threatened biodiversity. Next, question number 10. The three important components of biodiversity are genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Question number 11. Biodiversity is the occurrence of different types of ecosystems, different species of organisms, with the whole range of their variants, that is biotypes, and genes along with their interactions and processes. This term was coined by Edward Wilson. Two biodiversity rich zones are Western Ghats and Northeast region. Question number 12. The term genetic diversity refers to the diversity of genes within a species. It is important for the following reasons. A or 1. Greater the genetic diversity among organisms of a species, the more chances it has in surviving environmental perturbations. And 2. Species with higher genetic variations tend to be more resistant to diseases. They also show greater adaptability to changing environmental conditions. On the other hand, genetically uniform populations are highly prone to diseases and harsh environment. Question 13. The alien species becomes invasive and cause a decline or extinction of indigenous species. Like example, Nile perch introduced into Lake Victoria in East Africa led to the extinction of more than 200 species of cichlid fish in the lake. So you need to remember this Nile perch, the destroyer. Second, habitat loss and fragmentation deprive the organisms of their natural home and hence leads to their extinction. When large habitats are broken up into small fragments, mammals and birds which require large territories and certain animals with migratory habits are seriously affected. This leads to decline in their population. When the Amazon forest is cut and cleared for conversion into grasslands, many species are affected due to destruction of their habitat. And in this aspect, you must have seen on TV the fires that have been put up in the Amazon forest recently, and you must have seen very rare animals and plants being burnt alive. Very pathetic scene. Question number 14. Friends, should be explained how water hyacinth can damage the ecosystem of the lake and harm the environment. Excessive growth of such aquatic weeds cause aging of a lake by mineral enrichment of water. It's called eutrophication, which is harmful to aquatic life. It is the simple thing that you must remember is nitrogen. Nitrogen content goes up in the lake, and when nitrogen content goes up, oxygen content comes down. So when oxygen content comes down, all the aquatic flora and fauna devoid of oxygen will die. So once they die, the lake gets polluted and lake will have natural death. So the main thing is this. And values, what are the values you are expecting from your friends? Problem solving, critical thinking, responsibility and concern for others, and not only for others, for environment. Most important is one should have concern for environment. And automatically when you are having concern for environment, you get concern for others also. And last question, Alexander Van Humboldt observed that within a region, species richness increased with increase in explored area. Remember that graph? But only up to certain limit. This relationship between species richness and area is a rectangular hyperbola for a large variety of taxa such as angiosperms, birds, bats and freshwater species, freshwater fishes. On a logarithmic scale, the relationship is a straight line which can be described in the following equation. Log S is equal to log C plus Z log A, where S is species richness, Z is slope of line, regression coefficient we say, C is y-intercept, A is area, and Z is generally 0.1 to 0.2 regardless of taxonomic group or a region. When analysis of species area relationship is done among small areas, the values of slopes of regression are remarkably similar regardless of the taxonomic group or the region. If analysis of species area relationship is done among very large areas like the whole continent, the slope of regression line would be much steeper. In such cases, the Z values occur in a range of 0.6 to 1.2. So what you need to do is recollect the graph that we have done, and you need to draw that and see whether this explanation